is going to join about a half hour from now, and intrepid KREL reporter Lou Raguse. Lou Raguse will be with us at 5:15, and we'll try to get the answer to the question I posed earlier in the program. Seifert, you've got some KREL connections. Do you know if Lou Raguse is his real name or a TV name?
I thought it was his real name. I guess I've never asked him. It's a
great name for TV. Reporter. He is a tremendous reporter, yes.
He's a tremendous reporter, great guy. Kids are, I guess I shouldn't say where they go to school, but it's a familiar spot.
Okay.
Yeah, no, he's great.
Lou Raguse. It could easily be a stage name, but we're going to get to the bottom of it.
I'm going to be disappointed if it's his real name.
I know.
Because it's a very creative stage name.
It's tremendous. Just Raguse. You don't even need the Lou.
Exactly. Well, it's like his buddy Bloom,
Yeah, Paul Bloom.
They're basketball buddies. They coach together. Bloom and Raguse. It's like a great law firm.
That'd also be a really good, intrepid, investigative journalism duo.
That's right.
Woodward and Bernstein like.
BloomandRaguse.com.
Or does Raguse and Bloom sound better? Bloom and Raguse? I think Raguse and Bloom trips off the tongue better. Yeah.
I think that's true.
Probably true. All right, I'm going to read you a quote that I don't know how I missed this, but I want you to translate it into English from KOC. I think at times guys try to, and maybe it is the moment, and if it's authentic in the moment, fire away, have at it. But we don't need to exhaust any energy. Our jobs are hard enough already. Trying to be somebody else or trying to play to some sort of persona, whatever it may be, let's just go back to work, man. Let's just go back to work and try to get better every single day. That's almost word for word what I said on the air about 3 weeks ago, for God's sake. When did KOC say this, and what do we make of it?
So that was I think that was today with Paul Allen on KFAN
on KFAN
radio.
Even better. My apologies for not listening. I heard earlier portions of PA, but not that part.
Yeah, no, and so that was today. And I believe that PA had mentioned something along the lines of this idea of the 9 personality that McCarthy brought up, and that, and kind of left it, threw it over to O'Connell, where are you at with that, or what do you think? And O'Connell said that the big thing he wants people to do is be themselves, especially at the quarterback position, so that players know that who you are, you're authentic, you're being true to yourself. They can sense when you're not. There's no reason to kind of try to play to a persona. There's no reason to create that level of kind of, he didn't use this word, but like fictionalized drama or whatever around you. And he didn't even say that that's what McCarthy had done, because he did then turn around and say, like, if that really is who you are, then let's have at it. Let's go. But the big thing is, I think O'Connell made pretty clear, like let's just not go there anymore. Let's not, reference 9. Let's not create those mean mug memes that have sort of populated the internet, prior to, or I think it was after the Detroit game. And let's just get back to work. Let's just play football. And so that, in that regard, it was pretty typical of what a lot of coaches a lot older than Kevin O'Connell would often say is, let's kind of not, let's cut the nonsense if there is in fact nonsense going on, and let's just be football players.
I would argue that's pointed by his standards, though.
It was, and to be clear, like, he gave himself an out. Like he said, if that's the authentic, him, then it is. But like, he made it, like, I think any human being listening to that would, or reading it, or hearing even a paraphrase, would agree that was probably not O'Connell's favorite J.J. McCarthy moment of the season, as short-lived as it was, and it happened after one game, and he mentioned it.
Well, you guys
in one
milked
press
it.
Conference. It was a response to a question about how he kind of responds to competitive moments, and it's probably going to stick with him for a long time, if not forever. But it wasn't like it was a weekly thing that he was, creating or talking about or being asked about by us.
Yeah, all that's true, but it left its mark, as we said before. The sequencing is all right.
Yeah.
There's plenty of time for the mythology to build. The mythology, first you got to do the stuff that we associate with mythology, and then you can invent all kinds of stuff, and you guys will write it all out longhand, man. I mean, every word you'll milk the hell out of it, because that's sort of the nature of the business.
Good copy. Yeah.
By the end of the season, by the end of the 17-game regular season, the number one team in the NFC North will be in what city?
The Pats in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Ooh.
Man, I'm telling you, I think that I've been, and you asked me that a couple weeks ago, I think, and I have finally become consistent believers in the Packers, and I know they only squeaked by the Bears, and they lost the Eagles 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, or whenever it was, but I just think when you can play defense like that, and they still are playing really good defense, the Bears have a good offense, that's what will take you a long way through the playoffs. And so, into the playoff stretch and then into the playoffs. And so I could be proven wrong. The Lions might somehow overcome. The Bears might beat the Packers when they have the rematch at Soldier Field. But if I had to, and have felt this way for a few weeks, if I had to pick a best of that three, then I really do think the Packers are the most balanced team, offense, defense, and they have the best. Their defense is the best unit on either side of the ball of any of those teams.
Well, I think you hit the key point. They're the most balanced team. And I mean, look, I thought Jordan Love regressed a little bit last year, but he's been big time this year, man. I think it's 22 touchdown passes, 4 interceptions. Now, again, the Bears left some people open for some explosives, as you guys call them in the business, that last game. But he, to me, what he's managed to do is continue to fling it a little bit without being quite as reckless. He threw one pick, I think, in the Bears in that game, but he's only got, like I said, 4 interceptions for the season. He's playing really well.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, and we say balanced, and really, if to the extent that there's been criticism of the Packers offensively and of Matt LaFleur, it's that they've been relying too much on the running game, and they should just let Jordan Love cook. But that's kind of left out the analysis that maybe the reason he's cooking is that they're not asking him to throw it 45, 50 times a game or whatever that would be. If you're just letting your quarterback cook, that balance might actually be helping him, be productive in the times he is throwing. So I think that, we'll see to what extent they shift as they get into this final playoff stretch and get into the playoffs, if that's the way it stays or if they go with a hot hand or what have you. But he's definitely playing the way you would want him to be playing in December. And they've got a roster that's pretty well equipped for that time of year as well. 3 postscript texts regarding the 50th anniversary of the Hail Mary play, which you are apparently going to chronicle, dropping tomorrow, you said? Yes.
It's even better.
That's the plan.
Let me read these 3. One of them came in via X. Forget Gary Anderson and Blair Walsh. Forget the Brett Favre INT. The Drew Pearson push-off was not only the start of the Vikings hex, it cost the Vikings their best chance to win a Super Bowl. I was in high school at the time, and I will carry this to my grave. Another texter, I was there in 75. We were about to rush the field. I saw the whiskey bottle fly. Last thing I remember were the brawls in the parking lot. A friend of mine tried to market the Nerf whiskey bottle after that incident. And lastly, I hadn't heard this one before. Maybe you cover it in the story that will drop tomorrow. What bugged me about that play was not the push-off, but that Alan Page was absolutely tackled by an offensive lineman. There was no flag for holding. That's what Bud got hot about after the game. I am 77 years old, and I remember it like yesterday.
We didn't cover that. Somebody had mentioned that, and if you watch the film carefully, you see a defensive lineman go down. I don't remember it being Alan Page, though. I thought it was one of the defensive tackles, like maybe it was Mark Mulaney or something. Okay. And that was part of it. It was hard to see exactly who it is, but somebody else brought that up too, that it never even it shouldn't have mattered whether there was a push off or not, right, because you had a takedown. And, to the extent that officials let people play now in certain high leverage situations. I think back then they allowed it even more. And so, maybe the strategy is commit the penalty and challenge the ref to make the call.
Yeah,
is the best approach to take in those situations, especially in 1975.
We will look forward to the piece dropping tomorrow. Thanks as always, and we'll then thanks for the preview today. You ended up giving us a very nice preview. I'm sure without giving away the best stuff to appear in that story.
Well, if there is a good best stuff, I guess everybody will be the judge of that.
Any chance you could just do a quick video for ESPN.com summarizing the story so I don't have to read it all?
9 seconds.
Maybe we did. You never know. If you go to YouTube, the NFL Films thing, you go to about the 145 mark. You can watch the whole thing in about 20 seconds. So.
Thank you. Even better. Thank you.
Okay, Dan.
Enjoy the Stonami. Kevin Seifert, ESPN.com. Sam Mitchell in about 15 minutes. Years ago yesterday, 45 years ago last night, John Lennon was murdered outside of his residence apartment building, the Dakota. And we played in previous anniversaries the Howard Cosell announcement on, as I recall, Monday Night Football game, late in that game, confirming that murder. I can still remember watching that broadcast live in my little apartment in Smyrna, Georgia, just outside Atlanta. Horrific occasion. And Dan Minnesota noted that the next day, so 45 years ago today, in the Minneapolis Star, there were 2 stories on the cover. One with the headline, "Tell Me It Isn't True," says Lennon's wife and fans. That looks like a news services story. And underneath that, a John Bream column. Our guy, John Bream. Lennon led life as Beatles' magical mystery man. He's listed here as rock critic. John Bream. I had the fortune of meeting 3 of the 4 Beatles. Maybe it was fitting that I never met John Lennon. He was the Beatles' mystery man. Beatlemaniacs may have once thought Paul McCartney was dead, but they know he has been merely writing silly little love songs. Meanwhile, Ringo Starr has been drumming his way into the movies, and George Harrison has been searching for the perfect guru. But where has John Lennon been? What have he and partner Yoko Ono been doing in seclusion for the past 5 years, and why has this once prolific, once revolutionary artist become an inscrutable nowhere man for so long? And it goes on from there. He notes, does Bream, I think, fairly rightly, that if it hadn't been for Lennon's guiding artistic and intellectual vision, the Beatles may never have been the musical and cultural force they became. John Lennon certainly rivaled Bob Dylan as the most important pop music figure of the 1960s. And while McCartney provided the Beatles' tuneful pop underbelly, it was his songwriting partner Lennon who gave the quartet its rock and roll edge. McCartney admired the vocal harmonies of the Everly Brothers and the toe-tapping pop of Buddy Holly, whereas Lennon was affected by the raw music of Elvis Presley, Little Richard, and other American stars. I meant to get to that late yesterday because Dan Minnesota passed that along to us, but better in this case late than never. Real quick, do we have a Winter Olympics sounder yet?
No, we could get one.
If we want one, I guess we could think about it for this story.
We get the iHeart approved Olympic music.
Yeah.
Remember when we got that? I wonder if I could find that.
Maybe it's possible. I'm sure some of you have heard about this, but maybe others not so much. Via The Athletic, the late scramble to get the hockey venues ready for the Milan Cortina Olympics may have the NHL concerned and the hockey world talking But it doesn't come as a surprise to those who were on the ground the last time NHL players traveled to Italy for the Winter Games.
Stand by.
Oh. That's urgent.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Very urgent.
I love the horns.
That's nice.
We've got a longer one, too.
That's really good. Is that the one we played back in the day? Okay.
Yes.
20 years ago in Turin, construction delays went right down to the wire and left no time to stage a proper test event. In fact, organizers even found themselves crudely reconfiguring a section of the lower bowl at Palasport Olimpico in the months before those games because of a critical miscalculation in design. We realized that the big door where the Zamboni is driving it's too small.
Are you nuts?
So they had to carve the stands off to get it done. So this might be history repeating itself. I don't know. But it sounds as if there is the
rink's too short.
Problem. The Santa Gia Arena in Milan is being built on an even tighter time frame than the main venue in Turin was. Shovels hadn't been put in the ground as recently as December 2023. And the level of worry has only grown since. When NHL employees toured the building in August, it was a complete construction zone. None of the infrastructure completed, including roads to the area or the arena, and the practice rink hadn't even been started. Worse still, it appeared only a minimal amount of work was even happening toward the end of summer. NHL also wasn't encouraged by the update it received during a facilities update this past Friday, according to league sources, and recently sent more staff to Italy to assist with the project on the ground. The list of outstanding issues includes the fact that the floor of the building is currently covered in construction materials, preventing the boards from being anchored, which allows ice production to begin. It's too late to change the dimensions of the playing surface, with the game's just 2 months away. The IHF, IIHF, International Ice Hockey Federation, confirmed Monday that the rink will be 196.85 feet by 85.3 feet, more than 3 feet shorter than the NHL standard 200 feet by 85 feet layout, and also much narrower than the international standard by 98.4 feet. But the league staff is working with organizers to try to reduce the impact of the smaller surface by accounting for the difference in the neutral zone. Wow. And keep in mind, the women's tournament is scheduled to begin Feb 5. The men's tournament is scheduled to begin Feb 11. That's right around the corner.
I know. I've seen rumblings of this the last
it's not good.
handful of days.
Was anybody threatened to pull out yet? Has it gotten to that point?
I thought I saw
safety concerns?
I thought I saw an NHL guy just within the last few days said, we're not doing this if this is how it is. Yeah. I thought I saw that, unless it was an overreaction onion.
I wonder if they mean it, or that's the old, we're going to try to put as much pressure as possible to scare them into somehow finding a way to get this thing done on time. We'll
have to ask Louis about it tomorrow. I'm sure he has a story of how he had to call had to call Dick Ames, and they brought in their own construction crew and figure out how to do it. Are we done?
We are. Oh, this is the long version?
This is the long one, so maybe this could be the open.
I like this. This is nice.
And then the short one
Very
we could
majestic.
play on the way out. Yeah, it was good.
Very majestic.
I'm feeling it.
Yeah,
I'm feeling the Olympics.
Let's find out if Sam Mitchell is feeling the 2025-26 Minnesota Timberwolves. He is coming up next. Questions for Sam Mitchell, hit the Bradshaw and Brian KFAN text line 64686, and it just might be your lucky day. We'll see how it goes. Sam joins us via the Connecticut Water Systems hotline. Been way too long since we've bugged you and had you on the air, but it's good to have you back, and I hope you're doing well.
Man, I heard that temperature up there, and I'm like, whoa.
It's been a harsh it was a great fall, but it's been followed by a very rapid descent into Minnesota winter hell.
Dude, the only good thing, I was in my dentist's office yesterday, and they had all these pictures up of a white Christmas, and I was telling the lady cleaning my teeth, I remember those days, and I do miss waking up on Christmas Eve and Christmas morning with the snow and the fireplace and all the Christmas lights and stuff. Because being from the South, that is something that you see on television in the wintertime up north, but you never experience it. So having to experience that, and my children having the chance to experience that, I always appreciate that.
Well, you got the best of both worlds now, because you don't have to live in it every day, but you can come back to visit, something Wolves related anytime you want, right? That's the beauty of it. So you can get a taste of it.
I'll wait till it's more above freezing than those teams.
I understand. I can't argue with you I don't think Guardsy will argue with you about that either. All right, where should we begin? I do want to, part of the reason I wanted you on is, I think I've told you this before. When a team is in your market and you're watching them and paying attention to them constantly, you sometimes can get a little lost in the weeds. And so I always want to hear what people who are connected, like you are, very connected, but still outside a little bit looking in, what they see that we might be missing because we're in it every day. So Wolves are, I think 24 games in now. And that's a decent sample size.
Yeah, they're kind of who they are.
Yeah, and I'm not overwhelmed so far, but I want to get your view of what you see from your seat when you watch them right now.
Well, it's kind of weird with the NBA, man, because I was talking to somebody about this, Dan. The NBA is kind of like two seasons. You have the regular season teams that can win a lot of games in the regular season, and then those same teams sometimes, the way they're built, can win games in the regular season, but if they get the wrong matchup in the playoffs, they get exposed. And I go back to the Lakers. I mean, you look at what the Lakers are doing right now, it's crazy. Mm-hmm. But you also have to remind yourself that come playoff time, they have Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves out there on the floor, three guys who are not the greatest defenders, and you kind of pick on those guys. But now you look at them in the regular season, and, man, Austin Reeves looked like an MVP candidate. I'm watching the game against the Raptors, and the Raptors are trapping him at the end of the game, leaving LeBron James open. So, but again, you see that, and you look at what the Lakers are, but then you turn around, and if the Lakers and the Timberwolves play in the first round, you can make the argument to pick the Timberwolves because, again, when it comes time to really play and to get dirty and to get grime and everybody take it to another level, the Lakers do have three guys that just are not good defenders.
Yeah, that's undeniable. You're right. And that's that.
So it's kind of hard to judge this NBA. Other than OKC, it's kind of hard to judge everybody else.
Yeah, that's fair. Let me ask you about more specifically. Let's drill down a little bit more about the team, because basically the decision was made, much to, I think, the shock of Mike Conley, literally like right before the start of the regular season. We're going to bring Mike off the bench. We're going to start Dante. And we have Mike on about once a month, and he said, look, I didn't expect it necessarily, but I get it. I'm a team player. I understand the idea behind it. Now, I want to play, but I'll deal with it. And what it looks to me like is, and a guy I think you have gotten to know pretty well, John Krasinski, has basically written, well, in all honesty, Anthony Edwards is this team's point guard. And I think that's largely true most of the time. I still am not convinced it's the best way in a perfect world to use Anthony, and that they're doing it this way more out of necessity than out of what they really want to do. So how do you assess, I guess, the offense with Anthony really as the de facto point guard, especially when, on the occasions when Mike Conley's not even on the floor?
Look, I don't mind seeing Anthony with the ball late in games and in crucial situations because, he can, and especially in pick and roll, because he's going to force a double team. He can split a double team. He can create a mismatch for a lot of people. But in the regular season, I think it gives me pause because, again, he's stuck between, do I be aggressive?
Yes.
Am I shooting too much? Do I get guys involved? And I think right now it's about necessity. But my big question, what about the kid they drafted 2 years ago to be the parent starter for Mike Conley? Because, look, I'm a Mike Conley fan. I respect Mike Conley. But, look, man, you're long in the tooth. You can't guard the position like you used to.
Yep.
And, in the playoffs, man, it was hard to watch. So I get it. I get why they're kind of playing Anthony at that position. But I don't think they could be at their best when Anthony has the ball consistently, and he has to decide, do I be aggressive and score, or do I pass to make other teammates better?
I agree 100% with you. Now, last night, the change Finch went with was he sat Dillingham completely, and he used Bones Highland, and Highland actually had a good game. But with all due respect to Bones Highland, I don't think he can be the big change. and that you're going to go anywhere with that, night after night when you're playing the best teams in the league. So the Dillingham mystery is he hasn't meshed with whatever Finchie's trying to do, and he has shown more limitations than I thought he would. I don't know what the answer is, Sam, because as you know, you could say, well, you just got to keep playing him because he's got to get those minutes. But I think Finchie's frustrated enough with him that he said, well, at least for now, we're going to go another direction, which means I'm not sure you can count on Dillingham making a big jump at all this season to fill the role that you're talking about.
Well, if not now, when? And if that's not the case, then you got to go get somebody.
Yeah, there you go. Look, that's my next question.
This is the tough part, Dan, and this is what the Timberwolves, like a lot of other teams, going to have to look in the East, in the West, and look in the mirror. What do you do with OKC? Mm-hmm. Do you just give in and just give them the next 8 to 10 years of winning, or do you try to put together a team that can play with them? And a team to play with them, you got to have depth. You got to have unselfish people. You got to have people that fits into their roles and accept their roles. Man, they're scared because OKC is still the youngest team. And look, I know when those contracts kick in next year, they're going to have to make some decisions. But the last time I checked, they got about 3 or 4 first-round picks languishing in the G League that's looking for an opportunity to play. And, oh, by the way, look at the treasure trove of picks they got still hoarded away.
Yes.
So they can actually go out and make some deals. Everybody's talking about where should Giannis go. I tell people this all the time. The only team that really has the picks to go get a Giannis is OKC. But if I was OKC, Dan, I would go get Zubac for this reason.
Yeah.
Zubac plays the best defense against who? The Joker.
Good point.
And if you're OKC, the only team right now that make it beat you in the Western Conference is Denver. So why not go get the guy that can guard him the best, and you have the assets to do it, and you got a guy in his slot right now that you can slide on over with a bunch of picks in Hartenstein and make this thing work.
Yeah.
And it looks kind of seamless.
I again agree. I hate to agree with you again, but I agree 100%. I don't even understand why you'd want to, as good as Giannis is, throw somebody that dominant into the mix with what you have going. I think your move is a lot more subtle, but extremely effective.
Well, Dan,
and specific.
Think about this. If Giannis goes to Houston or the San Antonio Spurs,
yep.
Do you want, now you're going to have to, now you got to beat them.
That's true.
To get out the West.
Right.
So again, man, and that's something that Sam Presti got to decide. He may have to do a deal to stop a guy like Giannis going to someone like Houston or San Antonio. Can you imagine Victor and Giannis on the floor together in San Antonio with the rest of that young talent?
Yeah, that's a little scary. That's for sure. So if the Wolves have to look outside, would you dare to entertain a Ja Morant exploration? Is there another name you say that's less volatile but might it still be effective for the team? What are you hearing in that regard? Who might be available at the position that you think might be worth pursuing?
I hear Ja, but to me, the biggest concern with Ja is the size. Now you put Ja in the starting lineup and Anthony Edwards. And Anthony, look, he's a tremendous athlete, but he's on the smaller side of 2 guards. Mm-hmm. When you look at him, what gets him over is his bulk, his strength, his athleticism. And then you throw Ja. Then can you get away with it with Rudy Gobert? Yeah, I thought it would be easier to get away with it when you had Rudy and Carl out there. I don't know with Rudy and the way the lineup is now. I don't know, man. Look, you may not have a choice but to try to do something like this because right now, what can you do to beat OKC? That's the question you got to ask. What can you do to give yourself a puncher's chance to compete with OKC? Because they're not going anywhere, Dan. They're going to be good for the next 5, 6, 7 years. And so you either going to fold or you're going to try to figure out a way to improve your team to where you can compete with them.
Could you there's 2 names that have surfaced, not because there's any reporting to indicate there's discussions, but more basketball guys are looking at the Wolves' need and saying, well, these guys might be interesting, whether it's realistic to get either one of them. Do the names Kyrie Irving or James Harden do anything, or is that both? Is it outlandish in both cases to think there'd be any chance to get him? Or do you
I would say I would go with Kyrie Irving. James scares me. It's the age,
right.
1. 2, his track record in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's undeniable.
He just haven't played well in the biggest moments in the playoffs. And you look at Kyrie, he's had some of his shining moments in the playoffs and winning a championship. So I would look, if you could get Kyrie Irving and get him healthy and put him in the backcourt with Anthony Edwards and the rest of that team, a guy who's won a championship, who's been there, done that, that gives you a chance. But the question now, if you're going to go get Kyrie Irving, what are you going to have to give up?
Exactly, yeah.
Obviously, you'll have to give up a lot less to get James Harden. But does James Harden get you there against OKC? Because my question would be, can he guard the position at his age and with the wear and tear on his body?
Yeah, those are fair points. I like this version of Harden better than the earlier version because I think he's become more he seems less interested in scoring and more on he's willing to distribute. But the playoffs is sitting there looming because, as you say, he's had some really stinker games when it counts in the playoffs.
Could he be a knockdown spot-up shooter for Anthony Edwards? Because obviously if you put Anthony Edwards, he's going to draw attention.
Yes.
And you got James sitting over there, and if you kick it to James, he can knock down the shot,
question.
Or he could create himself.
Yes.
But my question is, James is what, 37?
He's old.
36. So, again, it'll be a short-term fix, and then what do you do a year or two after that? I think if you're the Wolves, you got to find a permanent solution, and you got to start trying to build a team that can compete with OKC. If not, then I'm not going to use this term, but what does Anthony Edwards do for the next 5, 6, 7 years?
Yeah.
Looking at OKC.
That's fair. Sam Mitchell, kind enough to join us. Don't forget, we got Lure Goose coming up at about 5:15 after the top 5 at 5. Leaving aside, well, let's just talk. Maybe I'll ask the question this way: the best team in the Eastern Conference is?
Ooh, man, I was looking at that. It is. The East is kind of crazy. I still, right now, from a talent standpoint, I would go with the Knicks starting 6 because they can score. But the problem with them is defensively they could be a liability. You would expect Cleveland to have jumped up and taken the reign, but they're struggling right now with physicality and injuries and things of that nature. Man, right now I would probably say the Detroit Pistons.
Ooh. Yeah, they're fun to watch.
They're young, they're athletic.
Yeah.
Cade Cunningham is the closest thing we're going to have to an American player being MVP anytime soon.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have one from the United States.
I mean, hey, look, at least he's going to take the guy from Boston who's hurt right now. He'll take his place on first team All-NBA.
Yeah,
at least we'll still get an American Tatum. At least we'll still get an American first-team All-NBA. But, man, the MVP between Shea, between Luka, between the Joker, I mean, dude, when is an American player who's close? The only guy who's close is Cade Cunningham right now.
Well, my producer is reminding us, what about Anthony Edwards?
Well, 6 seed players don't win MVP when you're 6 seed.
Yeah.
And you got the Joker putting up the numbers he got.
Right.
You got Luka putting up the numbers he got, and you got Shea putting up their numbers.
Yeah.
So those two teams are what, 1, 2, and 3, something like that? And you're 6?
I have not heard you on the Chris Paul saga. And a lot of people tell me that, it's easy to be angry with the Clippers, but that Chris Paul, if Chris Paul's a great player, you can deal with all the other stuff that is Chris Paul. But if he's not, and he's yelling at people as the 11th guy and the 12th guy, people aren't going to accept it the same way. So where do you fall on the whole Chris Paul deal?
Look, I think it's unfortunate, but look, Chris Paul, great player, but you have to read the room, and you have to understand the people on the team. When Chris Paul was with OKC, a young team, you can get into young guys because they don't know.
Yes.
Right? They haven't been around. They don't know. It's Chris Paul. So whatever Chris Paul say, they're going to react to it in a positive way, right? A veteran team that's losing, that underachieving. Hard, man. Those guys are stuck in their ways. Dan, I tell people this all the time. Given the choice between a young team and an age and veteran team, I'll take the young team all day. Coaching an older team is a pain in the ass, man. Because all those guys, they know the game. They've been around. They're stuck in their ways. And they're going to question everything that you want to do or say. And think about Chris Paul. Chris Paul is used to having the latitude of going around, being able to say things to guys. And man, look, it's tough. Look, I understand that. I hate it for Chris Paul. But at the end of the day, if you're the Clippers and a guy is just making life unbearable for not only the coaching staff, but the players and the organization, the Clippers had to do what they had to do. I put the onus more on Chris Paul because he didn't read the room. Think about this. Think about how hard it was for the Clippers to make this decision. Going through all the things the organization dealing with right now, on and off the court, all the Kawhi Leonard situation, all the stuff with Ballmer, and now Chris Paul had this great introduction when he signed, crying on stage, the greatest player in Clipper history. It got so bad to where the general manager had to fly to Atlanta and cut him on the road. So again, I hate that it happened to Chris Paul, but you know, if you're the Clipper organization, you got to do what you got to do to try to maintain or salvage any part of the season that you can.
It's quieted down more recently, but I know you've commented on it a lot when it was hot. Where's this betting scandal going, do you think?
Dan, I don't know, man, because it you know, I don't get into it. I'm not a gambler like that. It's just something that never has interested me that much before. I just find it hard to believe that NBA players making the money that those guys were making. I've said it on, and look, I don't know Terry Rozier. I know Damon Jones a little bit, but I know Chauncey Billups. I don't believe Chauncey would get involved in something like this. Now, could he have been duped to show up at a poker game and play and then kind of look around the room and say, maybe I need to go? Yeah. Could he have shown up and played? Yeah. But to say he sat down with some guys, talked about an X-ray table, glasses, all these type of things to cheat people out of their money, the Chauncey Billups, I know I just can't conceive him being a part of something like that. I believe it when he's proven guilty or he admits that he did. I just can't believe that, Dan. Not the guy that I played with, not the guy that I spent time with, knowing his children, knowing his wife, knowing his family. I just can't. But the guy that I know would not even entertain stuff like that. I mean, Dan, when we played, even on the few moments when guys were thinking about doing dumb stuff, Chauncey was one of the few younger guys. Because you have to remember, Dan, I was older than those guys.
Yeah, you're right.
They called me uncle. So I didn't necessarily hang out with those guys on the road and stuff like that. I was much older. Chauncey was one of those guys in the group with the young guys that would always kind of pull guys' chain like, nah, it's time to go.
Yeah, that is interesting. Well, we'll see how the thing plays out. As we wrap things up, let's bring it full circle back to the Wolves. As you know, they brought back most of the team from a year ago, so the continuity existed this time around. But they ultimately let Nickeil Alexander-Walker go.
Oh, my God. He's been a godsend here in Atlanta. He is playing his butt off.
That's what I wanted to ask, because look, you can't re-sign everybody, and I get that, and I'm not going to pretend I was clamoring for them to keep him. But I will say, Sam, they haven't replaced him. What he represented at his best, and you know, I know you're in the Atlanta area, so tell me about how well he is. Because from afar, it looks like he's been outstanding for them.
They need to re-sign Trae Young after the season. I mean, that's how good. Now, it's going to come down to, can they win enough?
Yeah.
Can they make plays? But you think about what he brings. He's a 6'6" point guard that can shoot the three. And he's defensive-minded. So think about when, at certain stints of the game, when you had him and Anthony Edwards on the floor.
Yes.
Anthony, a physical defender, not tall, but strong like Donovan Mitchell, bigger than Donovan Mitchell. And then you look at Nickeil at 6'6", 6'6.5". That made you a very, very good defensive team. And then with Rudy Gobert out there, look, I got to ask you this. Is there any way could they have re-signed him?
Well, I believe it was going to cost them second apron. If there was a way to do it. But here's what I just remembered.
Well, let me ask you a question. Yeah. Why do you have to keep giving Rudy Gobert all this money?
He's not.
Why can't Rudy take a haircut?
Well, yeah, they all felt that way last night because he had a stupid flagrant 2. But this reminds me. Last year, you brought up Nickeil. You asked me the question on air. Maybe it was off. I don't remember which. And you said, "What about the possibility of Nickeil becoming your number 1 point guard?" And I ran it by some people here. We're like, I'm not sure he's good enough to be that level. But you look at it now and you say, Is that such a crazy proposition compared to what they're using?
Well, think about if they had him in the backcourt now.
Right. Yeah.
Then I would actually say they would have a puncher's chance to play with OKC because they're young, they got size. Look, I love Mike Conley, man, but he can't defend. He can't defend that position, especially in the playoffs. He just can't. And Nickeil just brings size. He brings shooting. He brings toughness. And again, like we just said, he's more defensive minded. So I think, look, I like Rudy Gobert, but I just think Rudy, man, is just making way too much money.
You sound like Shaq.
That's money that you could have. That's some of that money. And again, not that he shouldn't get paid. But what is he at? Almost 40?
I think he's, right in that range. Maybe
mid-30s now. He did take a little bit of a pay cut when they extended him.
He took a little haircut during with the extension.
Hey, man, he needs to take more of a haircut because, again.
He shaved his head.
Okay, think about it. I would say this. Is his days of being Defensive Player of the Year over?
Well,
can he still win Defensive Player of the Year?
I don't know if he can win it, but all the analytics indicate he's still pretty damn effective defensively, and their defense is crappy without him.
Okay, well, right now they're the 6th seed.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, that's undeniable.
And the teams above them are pretty good.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
I might would in this day and age in the NBA. I would even take a little bit more offense than a little bit more defense right now.
Might be right. When's your first trip back in here? Have you got any plans? With A-Rod, now A-Rod and the new guys are in charge. So I'm assuming, they're trying to link up with all the old timers, including KG, including you. You got any big plans? Any big announcements to make?
They reached out to us a little bit before the season about some alumni events and things that they're thinking about doing. They haven't heard anything, but hey, I'm glad we're on the air. A-Rod, I'm ready to come to a game, man. Let's go.
Yeah, it's time. I think it's more than time for sure. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all those good things. If we don't talk before the holidays, good to catch up, and we'll bug you again soon.
Without a doubt, Dan.
Thanks, Sam. Appreciate you.
Bye.
That's the one and only Sam Mitchell. Great basketball insight where, like I said, we're in this every day. He's looking at a lot of teams, and I think to that extent can give us some fresh perspective on a number of issues. Moral of the story is he's not feeling the 2025-26 Wolves as currently constituted. I think that's fair to say. He's saying, you got Dillingham to be the point guard. Let's go. What are you waiting for? This iteration, I don't think he thinks is going to add up, and so we'll see where it goes from here. Top 5?
Give you a little Wolves, maybe a little Twins, and you mess with Zuki at your own peril.